Elon Musk says, watch what happens in the next 24 hours. Stop, don't let your finger scroll. Not yet. Because if you miss this, the next 24 hours could slip by exactly like every day before it, and nobody's going to tell you what almost happened. Elon Musk says, watch what happens in the next 24 hours, because you're standing right at the edge of something most people will never even realize they missed. The clock is ticking, and while the rest of the world is sleepwalking through today, you're about to wake up. Pause, take a breath with me right here. The air feels different, doesn't it? That's because in the time it takes for one inhale, you make a choice: stay with what you know, or lean into the unknown, the unscripted, the one-day-in-a-million shift that happens while everyone else is busy not noticing. Most people never change, not because they can't, but because nothing ever hits them square in the chest. They hear the same advice, scroll through the same stories, see the same warnings. The next day, the next month, your life could be different, and yet, nothing happens. Until it does. And no one ever tells you the truth, that the biggest shifts never announce themselves ahead of time. They show up quietly, sometimes as a feeling, a gut punch, a weird electricity that makes you pause in the middle of your routine. You're feeling that right now, aren't you? That prickling sense that today could be the turning point you remember for the rest of your life. This isn't just another challenge video or a bucket list dare. It's not about joining a trend, or making a bet, or hoping for a magic moment. It's about what you do with the next 24 hours, because Elon Musk has learned, over and over, that the world turns on tiny moments nobody else is watching. And right now, you're watching. You made the rarest choice: attention. And that's more valuable than time, money, and luck put together. So why you? Why now? Why should you care what happens in the next rotation of the Earth? Because, deep down, you know what's at stake. You're tired of stories that don't change, of Mondays that repeat, of years that blur together because nothing ever really shifted. You want the track to bend, your story to split off in a wild new direction, not just for the drama or the dream, but for the proof that you're alive, that you can still surprise yourself. Pause, let that truth in. Imagine if Musk himself looked you in the eye right now, not through a screen, not from a TED stage, but right here, just you and him, and told you, I've stood on the edge of change more times than I can count. The secret? I didn't wait for someone to hand it to me, I moved. I watched. I risked. I let the world turn, but I chose to turn with it. Now, what if you let those words actually sink into your bones, instead of just passing through your ears? Because if you're still here, breathing slower, leaning in, that means you're already doing the one thing billions won't: you're willing to see. Now, the next 24 hours. What could they actually hold for you? Don't just think about winning the lottery or getting a lucky call. Forget the fantasies for a second and look at the ground under your own feet. In a single day, you could reach out to someone you never had the nerve to talk to. You could finally begin that idea you've replayed 1,000 times in your mind. You could break up the concrete routine that's numbed you into scrolling through life with your eyes glazed. You could say yes, to risk, to growth, to something that scares you, just enough that you can't help but change. So, take a moment and breathe in the realness. Most people will click away. Most people will check back into the familiar, convince themselves that tomorrow will be just like today, and that's fine. Most people need the comfort of sameness. That isn't you, is it? If it was, you'd already be gone. You'd have heard the phrase, next 24 hours, and thought, cool idea, maybe later. But you're still here. That means you hear the message underneath the noise: something can start now that didn't exist yesterday. Think about what happens when giants like Musk make a move. It's never about being the fastest, the strongest, the most prepared. It's about not waiting for some perfect sign. It's about betting on the fact that doing is always better than doubting, that one step, can set off an avalanche no one can stop. That's what the next 24 hours could be for you. You don't have to build a rocket. All you have to do is get honest about the smallest action you can take that isn't just motion, but momentum. Pause, listen to your breath, your heartbeat. Feel your hands, maybe a little clammy, maybe steady. This is what real beginnings feel like. Not certain. Not loud. Not public. Quiet, private, a little bit scary, and exactly where your life pushes off into a new stream. I'm not going to give you a list of 10 things to do, or a shiny worksheet, or a blueprint. Because the next 24 hours, your next 24, will only matter if you pick, not if you copy. If you chase your own wild hope, not someone else's plan. So as you step into your day, with all its noise and traffic and ordinary details, hold on to this single rebellion: refuse to let one more day pass on autopilot. Refuse to let another hour slip by, untouched by intention. Watch what happens, not out of obligation, but out of curiosity for the version of you on the other side of even one act of courage. Ready? The clock is moving. And if you feel that itch, that slow burn, that restless urge, you're not alone. Musk felt it too, every time he risked, every time he started, every time he gave himself 24 hours not for what the world wanted, but for the future only he could imagine. Stay with me, because the next moment could be the spark. You're still watching. That says everything we need to know about you, doesn't it? The majority already jumped off. Maybe they caught a headline, a punchline, a fragment of hope, and then let inertia pull them right back into sameness. But not you. Something just under your ribs is telling you to stick around, to see what this day can become instead of just assuming it ends like every other. That's not by accident. That's what happens to people who are finally ready for the 24 hours that matter. Pause, do you feel that? It's almost like standing at the window just before dawn. The world hasn't changed yet, but it will. In these hours, ordinary people decide whether they'll live another chapter of yesterday, or whether life is finally going to tilt, even if it's by a single degree. You get to decide that now. And nobody in the world's going to make that decision for you. Let's rewind for a moment. Think about Elon Musk at his lowest, yes, the billionaire in the headlines, but also the man sitting on the launch pad wondering if his rocket would explode. The investors laughed, the critics sharpened their knives, and he had every reason to quit. But here's where most people get it twisted: Musk was never motivated by winning. He was motivated by the refusal to let another day go by in the service of regret. That's what makes the next 24 hours different for people like you and him. It's not about lighting the world on fire overnight, it's about refusing to die by drift, by delay, by maybe tomorrow. Think for a moment, what would happen if you really treated the next day like the edge of something rare? Not just a repetition. Not something to fill or get through. But as a challenge, a dare you hand yourself: what can I prove to myself before the sun sets again? What conversation have I avoided? What idea have I left untouched, even though it keeps circling my thoughts like a low drone? What can I do, in these hours, that's so small the world won't notice, but so honest that I'll never forget? Most people never get that honest. They hide behind plans, behind distractions, behind timelines so vague they barely feel real. Someday I'll start. Eventually I'll try. One day, when I have more confidence, money, support, energy. But here's the truth that Musk learned long before the world knew his name: the future only answers the courageous. The next 24 hours could deliver you nothing, or they could split your story with one tiny act nobody else sees, because you finally stopped waiting for permission. Pause, let your pulse slow. This isn't about hustle or productivity. It's not about grinding until you collapse or winning a contest. It's about reclaiming the lost art of choosing your day instead of letting it choose you. Elon moved billions not because he's superhuman, but because he's allergic to wasted days. Miss a rocket launch, miss a window, and there's no redo. That's true for you, too. The windows are smaller than anyone likes to admit. Sometimes, they're just one sunrise wide. If you're still thinking, but what if I try and nothing really happens? Let that question sit untouched for a moment. Because, truthfully, everything that matters happens on the inside before the world ever sees evidence on the outside. If you show up, if you risk the discomfort of stepping 1 inch out of your pattern, you're already building muscles the old you never had. And the world? It bends to people who keep showing up for their own lives, even when it's invisible at first. Picture where you are right now. In your mind, see your next 24 hours as raw potential, a movie no one's directing but you. Could you send a message you've been putting off? Could you investigate an idea, for real, with hands-on action instead of just thinking? Could you reach out for help, even if your voice trembles? Or maybe, for once, you simply refuse to treat yourself as a background character, and you set aside 1 hour to start something you've been putting off for years. You might not make headlines for what you do. That's not the point. The point is the change that nobody else will see. The quiet pride, the jolt of your own power, a day claimed is a life shifted. Elon's wildest ideas were mocked, dismissed, and ignored. But the act of moving, that restless refusal to lose another day to routine, that's where new futures are born. Pause. Ask yourself, am I really ready to see what happens if I don't settle? You don't need a script. All you need is a willingness to act, on anything that belongs to you, that feels alive, even if nobody else applauds. That is how people like Musk repeatedly jump timelines while the world watches in disbelief. Imagine, for just a heartbeat, that this day could mark your split. A new thread spun from a decision so simple, so private, so brave that it almost looks like nothing, until it changes everything. The next 24 hours will pass anyway. But if you watch, really watch, if you move, if you risk, your life might not look the same when the sun rises next. You've made it this far. Most turn away. They don't want to feel uncomfortable, to catch hope rising up in their chest. But you stayed. You're still here. The difference is already happening. Now you get to decide if you'll finish this moment the same as you found it, or if you'll step out, today, not tomorrow. For one small step, 1 hour, 1 call, 1 message, 1 yes that's never been spoken before. Ready? The time isn't waiting. Neither should you. If you're still here, let that sink in. You're already doing what almost everyone else refuses to do. You're fighting the gravity of comfort, the pull of routine, and the lure of maybe later. The world will keep telling you that it's okay to let the next 24 hours pass just like the last. But you're still listening. Still alert. Still open. That's where real change begins. Not with fireworks. Not with applause. With the silent decision that nobody else knows about except you. Pause, take another breath, steady and honest. There's a reason Elon Musk says, watch what happens in the next 24 hours. He doesn't deal in hype or empty promises. He knows that every breakthrough, no matter how cosmic, starts as something microscopic. A risk taken that everyone else overlooked. An action started before all the answers were clear. The truth? Every revolution masquerades as a small step at first. Every trajectory change begins with nobody watching but you. Now, why is that so hard for most people? It's because vulnerable action always feels foolish before it feels powerful. The idea that you could make your life unrecognizable in a day scares people, so they tell themselves it isn't possible. Real change takes years, they say. Who do you think you are? But here's the secret: every iconic shift, every quantum leap, starts with one day nobody expected to matter. Today could be yours. What if, for once, you believed it? What if, for just the next 24 hours, you allowed yourself to move with the kind of courage reserved for the rarest days of your life? You wake up and decide not to wear your old skin. You send the message. You say yes. You apply when you're 30% ready, not 100. You start building, calling, uncovering. You do something with your heart just a little bit exposed. Pause, feel it, right under your bones, the world shifting as you shift. Not a hurricane, not a viral headline, a tremor. An authenticity that shapes everything that comes after. Elon understands that. He lived it again and again. And he'd be the first to tell you, nobody recognizes the first day of their transformation in the moment. It just feels like a risk, an inconvenient, sweaty, hopeful little leap. Most will never take it. They think, if it was really that important, I'd get a sign. But what if this is your sign? The feeling in your chest. The goosebumps on your arms. The message that chases you through every scroll, begging you not to look away. Musk didn't wait for billionaires to tell him it was possible. He moved anyway, hungry to see what only the brave will ever see. Let's go practical for a second. What exactly could you do with these next hours? Call that person. Hit send on the application. Make the appointment. Start the outline. Take the walk. Request what you need. Launch the idea. Gather the courage to apologize. Even if the outcome is uncertain, even if nobody notices but you. Especially then. Because that is the birthplace of all momentum, the stuff nobody will ever fully see except for you and your future self. The only permission slip you need is movement. And it doesn't even have to be perfect. In fact, imperfection is the clearest proof that you're alive. That old part of you, the one who waited, doubted, watched the clock run out, gets a little weaker every time you move even a single inch further than before. Pause, let the silence settle again. Imagine how fast the same can turn into unrecognizable. If you take yourself seriously for 24 hours, what could actually begin? What relationships could change? What habits could crack? How soon would you notice the arc of your story breaking away from the background into its own spotlight? Most people only recognize their moment after it's gone. If I'd only started then, they say later, if I hadn't waited. Elon Musk started where you are now, unsure, uncertain, but restless for change. He learned to trust the restlessness more than the comfort. Maybe, just maybe, that's what's waking up in you. What if you made that your new baseline? Not recklessness, but curiosity. Not trying to be a hero. Just making yourself available to possibility. Setting your expectations down for a day and seeing what actually catches fire when you finally give it oxygen. If you're terrified, you're probably moving in the right direction. If you're nervous, that's proof you're stretching. Let the countdown begin, not because you're running out of time, but because you're choosing to finally fill it. Watch what happens, not as a spectator, but as the main character for a change. There's a version of you, one day from now, who will thank you for caring this much about your own life. Don't let this be the moment you almost jumped. Let it be the one where you did, messy, unready, on the real and trembling edge of now. Because once you do, everything, truly, everything, begins to look like it can change one day at a time. Ready for the last push? Let's step together into a tomorrow nobody else saw coming. You're still here, and that changes everything. Pause, let that resonate for a moment. You could have left at any time. But you didn't. You watched yourself wake up, not just once, but every time you pushed through the urge to scroll away, every time the voice in your head whispered, just move on. You stayed. That's momentum, tiny at first, invisible to nearly everyone, but right now, it's grown loud enough to drown out the ordinary. So what does it mean, really, to watch what happens in the next 24 hours? It isn't about obsessing, or refreshing your feed, or waiting for a miracle. It's about engaging, in full color, in the present moment, with the one thing nobody else can bring but you, action. Your action. Your intent. Not borrowed. Not faked. Not for show. Let's get deeply honest right now. The world will keep circling around its distractions, its 99th emergencies, its safe little circles and crowded timelines. Most people will step over the threshold of today and into tomorrow with their eyes half shut, hearts on mute, fingers busy but souls idle. But you, right here, right now, you're about to raise your own signal above the noise. Pause, take a breath and make it deliberate. This is you choosing. Nobody forced it. Elon Musk didn't show up on your doorstep. But his philosophy did. He's taught us, sometimes with rockets, sometimes with ridiculous tweets, sometimes with brutal honesty, that windows open and close as quickly as a blink. The world makes no promises. But if you move, if you risk, if you dare to show up, doors swing wider than you ever expected. Now picture one small action you could take in the next hour. Maybe nobody will notice. Maybe nobody will even care. But you will. Just starting the thing, calling, writing, creating, speaking, apologizing, asking, quitting, applying, launching, forgiving, whatever it is, that tiny first step cracks open possibility in a way nothing else can. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You don't need to have all the answers. Just one honest move, made before you've convinced yourself it isn't worth it. Imagine, just for a beat, what could unfold by this time tomorrow if you don't back down. Maybe it shifts you an inch, or maybe it spins your life off into a whole new timeline. Maybe you'll look back months from now and laugh at how much began right here, at the pause, at the breath, at the commitment you made without an audience, before anyone else could count your wins. The truth Elon Musk knows, and what you're living right now, is that the cost of action rarely compares to the cost of inaction. The world will let you stay the same forever. It will reward your consistency, even if that means repeating the days until you can't remember one from the next. But this is the call-out: are you willing to risk an awkward minute, a failed attempt, a single what if, for a shot at a story only you can tell? Pause, feel that answer spark inside you. Because by now, you know deeply, sincerely, that your difference isn't in your luck, your status, or even your talent. Your difference is your willingness to move through discomfort toward possibility, even if there are no guarantees. Especially then. And maybe that's the secret inside every 24-hour shift. Progress doesn't come from a world that suddenly cooperates, from circumstances that finally make sense, or from luck that lands at the perfect moment. It comes from the same thing you're doing now, choosing to fill the day, not just survive it. Showing up with a little more hope than dread. Betting on yourself, privately, even if nobody else knows about it. So what's the real move? What's the thing you can commit to before midnight tonight? Seal it in your mind. Promise it to yourself. Say it out loud if you have to, even if your voice shakes. Write it down. Capture it. Take that next step, even if the world's asleep to your courage. And if nothing dramatic happens? If the sky doesn't open and you don't become a headline overnight? That's okay. Because you'll know. You'll know you spent a day in your own skin, awake, unwilling to let just another day pass as background noise. You'll know you showed up for yourself in a way most people honestly never do. Momentum can look like patience, can look like resolve, can look like the smallest shift that nobody else can see. And if you do this today, if you repeat this tomorrow, if you claim your own days in a row, that's when the extraordinary sneaks up on you. That's when you find yourself living a life that would have sounded impossible a year earlier. You're not here by luck. The universe sent a signal, and you answered. You didn't flinch. You followed it all the way here, to this edge, to this invitation. So, as you step out into your own next 24 hours, remember, Elon Musk's biggest secret isn't just the rocket science or the audacity. It's the stubborn, daily decision to move when the world wants you still. Let the world keep spinning. Let others turn away. You watch. You move. You answer. And when the day's done, you'll know, you were the one who showed up. Pause, as the minute hand slides forward. This is your marker in time. The next 24 hours start, now.